Hello.
Hello.
Hello!
Oh god, I feel like I'm teaching. I feel like I'm teaching, and this is horrifying. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the panel. We're here to talk about swords.
S words.
Cool. So, before we launch into it, rough format. Thank you, Wash.
Very cool.
As you can see, we are highly professional, experienced panelists. So what we're going to do for the panel is we're just going to watch some videos of games and then comment on them for the first half and then do a Q&A for the second half. I thought I'd mention that now just to give you some time to get questions ready or start thinking about it. But before we launch into everything else, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of Nam, the Wiradjuri Woiwurrung people of the Kulin Nation, and pay our respects to the elders past, present and emerging. I think it's really, really important to acknowledge the traditional owners and the really long and deep history and deep connection that Indigenous people have to Australia and the Torres Strait Islands as a whole, but particularly this area. I just want to add that at the start of the presentation. Anyway, let's start by introducing the panelists. And I'm starting with me, which just makes things awkward. Hi, I'm Emerald. I do HEMA, historical fencing, primarily focusing on saber, knife, and epee, and I've recently started doing a lot of rapier. But I'm also a historian, primarily of 19th century Britain, but also the Viking Age. Got into gaming really young, I got a Super Nintendo for a birthday at an age where I can't remember what birthday it was, but more significantly I got into paper and dice games with GURPS 3rd edition at age 15, and I have a YouTube channel called Sword and Waistcoat, where I talk about really whatever I want, but I'm aiming to make the topics more and more obscure until no one watches me, so come and watch that in action. Next person is Mosh.
Heyo, I'm Mosh. That is actually my name. I'm the head coach and master at arms of Fitzroy College of Arms in Preston in Melbourne. I am the previous World Broadsword Champion. I got injured and had to vacate my title, so then we got to watch my best friend go and win it, and we got to hold that funny trophy again.
The best friend being the person on the...
Yeah,
the person who's not Woody, who's holding you up.
Yeah. He's a unit, and he's my best friend in the world. So I'm very, very happy to see him have that trophy. I grew up with games because my dad played Doom and Duke. So I played Duke Nukem at the age of 4 and not knowing what I was doing, but cool, the space bar opens the door, and that's sick. I've got dumb memories of throwing the pipe bomb out of the window over and over. I don't know why I did that until I ran out of ammo and then loaded, but I don't know, kids do dumb things in games, right? Cool. I mostly work with Renaissance rapier and the idea of how do I break this game? And I actually watch lots of pro gamers and how they actually approach breaking their games and how trading card games break and how to break all those metas, because that's how we develop and make cooler fencing. It's me anyway.
Cool, and now we have Molly.
Hi, I'm Molly. Yes, I am the women's captain of the Western Wolves Medieval Combat. We're based in Ballarat. We are a Burkert team, if you've ever heard of that sport before. Basically, we wear steel armour and we use real swords, and we hit each other with real force. So if you're on Instagram Reels or something, you might see the people in the cages and armour beating the crap out of each other. Has anyone seen those? That's what I do. Yeah, that's my thing. And my qualifications are winning bronze at Worlds this year. Very proud. And gold at Nationals this year. Yes. And a silver and a bronze. We're going to talk about those. Yes, so I specialise in a mixture of different weapons, but I usually have a two-handed axe in hand. I also really heavily favour longsword as well. Yeah.
And now we have Kai.
Hello, my name's Kai. I have also trained with Mosh at Fitzroy College of Arms, and I'm also an amateur game designer. about maybe 10 years ago now, I started playing D&D, which is a game that forces every DM to kind of become their own game designer. And ever since then, I've pulled apart every game I've played and really focused down on the philosophy of game design. And yeah, when I do fencing, it's mostly rapier.
And last but not least,
hello, I'm Woody. I'm the current world number 2 for single rapier, and I've had the pleasure of teaching seminars throughout Australia, in New Zealand and in the US. Oh, great. I was just thinking about what my first gaming memory was, and Emerald has written it down.
It disconcerts me that you're turning to me for this.
Well, I was thinking about it and thinking, I remember playing Ghost Recon with my dad and playing on LAN games with my dad. I also, this is slightly outdated, I'm a bit washed up as a Dungeons & Dragons Online melee builder. But I would regularly design DPS builds for DBO and have raided with the most competitive raiding guilds in that game.
Cool. Alright, so let's launch into it. So our first game is a game called Half Sword. This footage is taken from a streamer named either Geo or Gio. I could not get any clarity on how you pronounce that. But yeah, we're going to watch that, and then lovely panelists are going to comment on it. So let's hope this works. It's a physics fight, so everything is going to look really strange.
I like the music.
Oh, look at that. Just an old whoopsie doops and win.
So good.
It would be a shame if you were lazy. Oh. Done. Music is wrecking me.
I think we got the idea.
Yeah.
This is hilarious.
I've seen you do that to someone.
Oh, I have done that to somebody. My swords are blunt though.
But wait, just for clarity, when you say you've done that to somebody, you've done the technique, or you've actually
The technique, I haven't done it. I think I'd be in prison.
Oh,
The little fake out, no.
that's so unfortunate.
Cinema.
You know the little flourish at the end just for flair? It's like jazz hands, you know?
It was like,
Oh.
Cool, so
Yeah, I'm noticing I haven't played this game before, but it seems to be a physics game, as you said, yeah?
yeah, it's one of those games where like realistic physics, and I don't know the streamer, so I don't know if they're deliberately doing more realistic sword movements because that's what works, or if that's what the game is designed for.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know, it looks cool.
One thing I really appreciate is the way the death animations work, or the fact there's not an animation seems to be a physics thing. One of the things that's lost in HEMA and Bohud and all that is the connection to the real world violence of these things. It is quite a distant affair, and to have a depiction of that's quite honest about how awful it is I think useful to think about these kind of things. I realise now I started on the dark part.
Yeah, it's only going to get better here.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, well, yeah, and I find it quite interesting as well as a theme decision that they seem to be going with trial by combat, because it's not something you see covered in a lot of games or a lot of media, but medieval people were absolutely, or when trial by combat was a thing, particularly in the Holy Roman Empire, that was neither Holy Roman or an empire. A lot of historical manuals and stuff that we worked from talks about trial by combat because they're all really obsessed with it.
Well, it's also the sort of thing you might find yourself in and have to take a crash course in really quickly, you know.
It's emphasis on the crash.
Yeah.
So.
I think something that this clip showed well is I think a lot of people underestimate just how sharp long swords are. You can explode someone in half with those things. Granted, I've only tested it on milk bottles filled with water. Thanks, Dan. Yeah, while you can't really see, it doesn't show well like the push and pull of a fight, like how do I explain it? The intensity, the pressure applied. It does show just how grisly a cut from a longsword is, and how quickly a fight can end when you get sliced by one. Like in movies, you see the ching, 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 ching. Fights are over like that quick. Like one pass, slice your arm off. I don't know many people that want to keep fighting after they've had their arms sliced off.
How many people do you know have had their arms sliced off?
The Black Knight.
Oh.
He wants to be fighting on their arms.
I'm sure I know someone.
Alright.
I'll let you know when I do.
Alright, so next game is Valheim. This is actually me playing as well, so like...
We get to bully you.
No pressure.
Oh god.
Here.
One thing that's immediately annoying me is that the shield moves out of the way every single time
Yeah,
you're attacking.
Yeah.
What are you going to use
It's
that
like-
shield for, huh?
The shield is meant to stay in front of you.
It's a blade, apparently.
It doesn't do anything if you use it to counterbalance
It's a common
yourself.
mistake I see beginners do.
Right back.
Oh, ow.
Yo, like, hitting low is sick.
Below the
That
belt.
works really well. See?
Yeah. I did actually give up on using the shield just because it was really pointless in the game.
I like
Yes.
that weapon. That's very nice. I approve.
Cool. Yes, this
Shields
is
kind of
FPS.
suck.
Big stick.
Big stick.
Go
What
bomb.
is that thing?
You can just hit
Great, what are you
things
talking about?
further away. This seems so much easier than actual fencing.
I appreciate using an axe on the wooden monster. That feels correct.
My friend, you should try my support.
I mean, technically it's meant to be a spear, or a type of spear.
Yeah.
But, you know.
I believe you.
You'll see in a minute, but I actually got concerned about how long this was taking and switched back to the sword because it was more effective.
I do want to complain about this. This is common in a lot of games where the hitboxes aren't the things that aren't actually the limbs of the creature necessarily. Like, it's deeply irritating when your strikes to the targets that you're hitting make no sense for how you would hit that target. That's like classic gaming pet peeve.
Yeah. A lot of games have inaccurate hitboxes, but they skew wider for enemies and narrower for player characters because it's less likely to
It's more
infuriate
fun.
people.
Yeah.
And like even if it's like matches perfectly, sometimes you swing your sword and you think you've hit and it's missed by like a pixel. So if they just make it wider by a bit, that happens less.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like the point I'm making is like when we're fighting people, the way that you attack, like the way that your attack looks, changes a lot depending on what you're trying to hit. So if you're trying to hit something low, you're going to be, you're going to be swinging low, you're going to be extended low. If you're trying to hit something high, you're going to look quite different. You might look quite upright, quite bound up high. That's going to look different, and there's no change in the posture in a lot of these games. You just sort of hit the same level, and then the damage rolls in.
I think another thing I'm noticing is this seems to be a game about hit point management more than anything else. Sword fights, the way I sort of say it is every human being in existence has one hit point. And a sword does anywhere between 1 and 10 damage. And so, my point is, like, obviously games like engage with this in an entirely different way, and it's not invalid. It's just incompatible.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't replicate what we try to replicate. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all D&D's fault.
It's all D&D, yeah.
It entirely is. This game does have a bit of a distance and a timing component.
Yeah.
I don't know if it came through in the swamp particularly. For reference, that swamp bit was actually a farm that one of my friends built so we could specifically harvest zombies to make sausages, which... But one thing, the weapons in the game do have reach, and you notice this a lot when you watch like Let's Plays and stuff, is everyone will play games by walking their character up to what they want to hit and then hitting it, even though like most games do actually have like a reach stat. And one of the things I really tried to do with this when I was playing this game under COVID was actually learn to exploit that, which then makes the combat really boring because all the enemies will walk up to you, and you might have noticed there were times where I'd start my attack as an enemy was walking up, finish, hit them with this really heavy attack, and then run off just as they started their animation. But yeah, there is a bit of a distance and a timing component as much as there is like hit point management as well.
I have a funny example of that. In I'm not sure if it's still the case, but I know in like PvP Minecraft scenes, which took it really seriously, because the origin of like your hurt box when you swing with a sword comes out of your head. You want to be below someone, so their origin point is further away from your target than you are to like their feet, and so you can get
True pro gaming.
you can hit them before like their angle can. And
Yeah.
I love that.
yeah, it's well, right?
That's rad.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
They've
So there's
reinvented
like
them.
a lot of 17th century rapier manuals that talk about out-distancing someone by changing your attack level.
Yeah.
So that's really funny.
That's just good rapier. Straight up.
Oh.
Yes.
Yay!
Yes. No. So Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. This is taken from a YouTuber with the name of David Huler, or Ule. I don't know if they pronounce it correctly, but the Old Norse would be Ule. So, yeah, fun there.
Oh, the fight's already over, but
It's hit points.
There is also a dog.
Yo.
I do-
Teamwork is sick for fighting.
there's no rules. You can.
You can make
And you can pat the dog. Let's go.
You can, look, this is the most important thing about the game, so you can pat the dog.
And I thought that was very realistic. I would say patting the dog.
That's very. That's really good vision for a helmet, actually. My helmet, you can't even see that much.
Oh, wow.
I have a clap visor, so covers my whole face.
Whoop. Oh,
Nice.
Wow.
nice.
Again, the ragdoll physics.
Just a little dink.
Oh, why did he stop?
Oh, because he'd reached his target distance.
Yeah. That axe would get caught in so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This guy's a gangster. His guy's a little high though.
He's scared, you know? Like,
I'd be scared.
swinging a sword at someone, you're gonna sometimes parry wrong.
I try not to.
Oh.
Just don't parry wrong.
Just don't parry. Use that helmet. Oh. Yeah, right.
Did you put a rating on the panel?
Yes. If there's any minors here, you shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Get back to the mines.
There's something that I love about this game, particularly as someone that wears armor regularly, is the stamina bar. Your stamina management, you'll notice as you attack, your bar goes down lower and it slowly refills. And I find so I think when I started playing it, I made a comment of this stamina bar actually really matches my personal armor stamina, because like when you're in armor, you lose your stamina very quickly. Like when we do 1 versus 1 fights in my sport, we do rounds of 1.5 minutes, and even by after the first couple of rounds, you're like, don't put me back in there, please. I'm so tired. No, don't call a 3rd round. No. So yeah, that's something I really like about this game. And in fact, the Sorry, I'll get off my box and say. The developers of this game worked very heavily with fighters in my sport and travelled to the World Championships to interview fighters in my sport. A lot of the kits in this game are based off of kits of fighters, Bowhurt fighters that they actually met at the World Championships a handful of years ago. So
That's rad.
very rad, yes.
The one that I commented on with the dainty little cutback is really special to me because being able to do dainty little actions against absolute and seeing that shown here, I think it was just this little overbind using the wheat to graduate it in, but for whatever reason they didn't make it a single action counter.
What do any of those words mean?
Yeah, that was part of the adventure. It's people trying to figure out what the fuck I'm on about. So, this is an S word.
Yes.
Yes. So, I believe they were using a longsword, but like this is long, right? And oh yes, and yeah, this is fine. So, the attacks come in quite heavily, and then just allowing that.
Did you need him to?
Yeah, just.
No, it's funnier.
It's funny. It's like really bad. If I'm bad, it's funny. Now they've come in, even though the attack's coming in this way, they've gone over the top to displace it, which has left the point just a little out of space, just a little to their right cheek, and then there's just enough spent action to just. And I just thought that was really neat.
That's super cute.
For the most part, I find that game to be, especially the second game, to be a more faithful representation of sword fighting than I've seen in a lot of other games. Obviously, it's not perfect, but it's quite good, and they did a lot of research. So. Good, go Warhorse. They did a really good job.
A lot of research. Cool. So next game is Mountain Blade Bannerlord. This is a game me playing. But yeah, I especially included this one for Woody.
I always love watching this game.
Yeah, right. Yeah, swords are really violent, eh? Why did you do that?
That's what,
Yeah, let people do that.
yeah, like there's a number of times where the AI parries wrong, but I kind of left it in there because I've seen people do that in fencing where they just parry completely wrong. They'll do the wrong action.
Was that his friend?
I guess.
So
Yes, get around that shield,
Just
yes!
run down behind.
Look, this isn't the worst.
I love Bannerlord's combat system so much.
Tell us why.
I believe you.
I don't think that it necessarily looks like real sword fighting, but I think when you're playing it, it feels really akin to what it's like to be fencing with someone. You have openings. You can see people preparing their actions. That's a big thing. It's like your attack doesn't just come out. You can see someone get it ready and then do a thing,
Is that
and you can
telegraphy?
react to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it feels like sword fighting, and also like the time it takes to do an action is really important.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like it's a thing with a lot of games. The movements will just be bigger because you're watching a person on screen. Like IRL, you never pull your sword back that far and that wide of your body. But if you had your sword at a realistic width, you wouldn't in the game. You actually wouldn't be able to see. Like the player wouldn't be able to see because it'd be concealed by the body. So
Yeah, you need to know what you're doing, whereas if you were just fighting, you would know what you were doing.
Yeah.
There's also another aspect to that where one of the big parts of fencing is being able to start some kind of attack or something and then adjust mid-flight. That's hard to do in a game when the attack has a single button you press and then the whole animation plays. There are certainly some games that do stuff like that, like a lot of fighting games have different combos that you can start and then switch into. And
Yeah.
that sort of stuff. But that's not something that people tend to make with sword games.
I love that you brought that up because I think that fighting games are genuinely better at depicting fencing.
Yeah. But actual fencing, imagine that you're able to take your favorite fighting game character and eventually just remove all the extra frames off all their attacks and make them really broken. You get to do that in real life. You get to make your actions like super broken. And that's what like makes it super nasty.
Oh, and there's also very much like actions taking certain frames is like very much like you will then counter people by doing actions that take less frames. Like that's very much a cornerstone of fencing. We call it tempo. It just means time. But we can measure it in centimeters, and you would, if you were playing a game, you would measure it in frames. That's the same thing, and you just want to do something that's shorter.
Yes, and when you fight, you can, in real life, you can set the tempo.
Yeah.
You can arguably in games too, but yeah.
You can also in multiplayer games, you can do it a bit in single player games because the AI is meant to react to what you're doing, and sometimes there are exploits, but yeah, IRL, like that sense of timing is probably the most key thing of fencing, I think. Cool. And which I should know what we're looking at, because I actually made this PowerPoint, is Elden Ring, and this is actually from an Bandai Namco like gameplay teaser. So there's a point where a voiceover will actually explain the mechanics, which yeah, I couldn't edit out. So here we go.
Just block your ears.
I'll try it.
I'm obsessed with Soulsborne games at the moment.
Of course. Positioning beats any skill.
Yeah.
Every time.
So one of the things I really love about these, like the Soulsborne games, is they're enough of a sword sim that they feel like immersive with sword stuff, but they're still enough of a game to
Enemy stance
feel
can be
game
broken with
stuff.
heavy strikes, such as when attacking from above.
I mean, if you've got magic, yes.
Throwing weapons.
I want to complain about heavy strikes and the concept of heavy strikes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I might do it after the video.
Yeah, a heavy strike can certainly stagger somebody, but definitely not like in this game unless it was like a superhuman strike.
In more perilous situations, you can summon spirits to assist us in battle.
I can't do that, I'm afraid.
Very great.
I've
That's
seen
just
Mosh do
hanging
it.
around.
Mosh does it a lot, actually.
That's just going to the ref and saying, here's $50.
I will say though, this definitely matches the like the difficulty and the intensity of an actual fight. I do often, it feels to me the most
Come
like
across
an
a
actual
boss
sword
in
fight.
this area.
That's how
Take it
scared
off
you
the
feel
field,
sometimes,
like
like how high the stakes can be.
Like those moments where the shields are bashed out of the way, stuff like that, where you can get them to do that committed action. There's so many beautiful actions of like thrusting slowly, dainty, just like, my goal isn't to hit you, but I'm gonna scare the shit out of you. And then just getting them to, I need to defend that area, and just dancing around and popping. Has the same feeling as like, I need to get you committed to that defense, get you committed to that, I'm not getting hit now, so you can hit in the future. And it feels so similar in this.
Oh yeah, when you parry in this, it feels just as badass when you parry in real life. Not that it happens for me often.
But in the
My
game,
helmet's
we're
sick.
We just locked our heads. That was a joke.
It's all
believe you.
it's my complaint about heavy strikes though, because I was going to say that it's reasonably easy to parry.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Like,
yeah.
I mean, that is kind of the difference between unarmored and armored fencing. Though, too.
Yeah, I'm not allowed to parry with my head. They get points for that. But when people are swinging harder, it doesn't necessarily make it harder to defend against their attack. It might suck more if they do hit you, but it doesn't necessarily make it harder to handle what they're doing, and I don't like.
Actually, it really just makes it easier. I
Yeah,
love when
it's
people
just easier.
really gorilla at me because it's like, cool, I got time to. That was stiff.
Like I would sooner see a game with like a guard breaking system where if your heavy strike fails that you're stunned rather than the other way around where you can stun lock someone by hitting them with heavy strikes.
Yeah, but then you would never commit to the big, slow, heavy attack.
And I think that should be the case unless you're going to fight.
Oh, it's also generally a bad idea to load up for some sort of heavy shot, because if you're like doing something like this, like
You just straight down Main Street.
Yeah, like the times that you're going to do your hardest strikes are usually powered by your opponent's actions. They do something to your sword that gives you energy, and then you'll hit them harder without adding any effort.
Yeah. Poor Seamus copped it on the elbow last night because he shoved my sword so hard. I was like, oh yeah, you dink! Oh, there was a lot of sneeze in that. I'm sorry, Bob.
Cool. So, we thought for the second half we'd move into audience question time. There are some microphones. There's one there and one there. If you just want to line up and ask questions, they don't have to be about the games we just watched. They don't have to be, well, they can be about like even something like tabletop games, or just about sword fighting in general. So yeah, just whatever you want to ask.
Maybe even movies if you're lucky.
You can't ask us the weapon zombie question again.
Yeah, no zombies, unless it's funny.
But the answer is
really ask us about Minecraft.
I now guarantee that everyone will ask a zombie question.
Alright, let's start over there. Just go, you got to the microphone first.
It'd be cool if you guys had some videos of how you'd actually fight to go after these ones, but that's not my question. Have you guys played any VR sword fighting games? And
Yeah.
what do you think about them?
Yeah, there's an interesting core fundamental problem with VR sword fighting games, which is that in a real fight when you're holding a sword and it intersects with another sword, the sword stops. And that doesn't happen in VR because the other sword isn't real. And so the way most of these games solve this problem is, I think, really inelegant. What they do is they make the actual like displayed sword within the virtual space. They put like a speed limiter on it and have it lag behind. And so there's kind of always a disconnect between where your hand is and where your sword is, so that when a disconnect happens in game, it's already disconnected. Yeah.
I played the one that everyone's played, and I've forgotten the name of it.
Blade and Sorcerer?
Blade and Sorcerer, yeah.
Oh.
I played that, and I got really tilted for that reason. And then David, the guy we were talking about, who has the funny trophy now, he just started laughing at me. He's like, but Marsh, I can do fucking fireballs. I was like, yeah, okay, I guess.
The one game that fucking nailed it isn't even a VR game. It's Wii Sports Resort.
I'm so glad someone brought that up. Thank you. It's like great.
So the
great
trick
sword
with that
fighting.
is it doesn't match perfectly to it because it only has like really like 2 angles the sword can be at. But then when the 2 swords strike at any time, there's like a weird knockback effect and it gets disconnected anyway.
Yeah, and then the Wiimote does the thing. It kind of replicates the weight of the sword a little bit.
But
It's
your
good.
character goes into a stunned animation, so it doesn't matter that your sword is in the wrong space because you lose control of your character for that moment. And it's just flawless, and no one's imitated it.
Yet. Cool.
Maybe struggle in Kingdom Hearts 2.
Cool. So,
That's more obscure than I thought.
That was
Yes,
funny.
more.
I thought.
yeah, if you want to.
Thanks. Yeah, I was just going to say, I think your point about the lethality of swordplay is a very difficult design decision in video games.
Because it's
How
It's unsatisfying when you die in one hit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And also when you kill in one hit, you want to have those compelling back and forth duels. And for me, the most compelling duel in all of media is the Princess Bride and Inigo Montoya. And I love it for a few reasons. I love the environmentalism, you know, like the fact that they're moving around a bunch, the back and forth of it all. And I want to ask, how would you translate a fight sequence like that into gameplay?
So
Wait, I want to do it.
Oh, you do it.
I want to do it.
Yeah.
I want to do it. Educate. It's like how like fighting games now are putting so much more effort into educating the players on how to have not just button mash, and it's educating the players on here are the dials of the game, not like you need to go on forums and randomly like read stuff like, oh, what's a footsies? Like actually like learning about like distance manipulation within the game, like positional advantage, really going through these really niche topics that really ends up what is it? Art, like reading Art of War for whatever your game is, right? And it's like, how do you teach these quite broad, actual tactical decisions so that you can kind of teach your players to get dopamine from the position, from how they're answering different positions before like thinking, oh, all my dopamine is I finally hit you. What's the words? Words are really hard. I don't know, do you have more you want to add to it?
We talk about this a lot in sword fighting, and I think it's funny that I only know this term from sword fighting, but I believe it has another meaning. We refer to it as being touch-starved.
Oh. Yeah, no, I came up with that for the joke.
Yeah, I only know this from sword fighting, which I think is funny. When you don't hit people regularly as a fencer, you start trying to make hits happen without spending the time on the setup, spending the time doing... You don't get to have your cool Inigo Montoya fight because that person is just trying to rush you down. It's probably taken 10 years for Mosh and I to get to the point where we can have that fight and not...
Like we're actually trying to zing each other?
Yeah, we're both really trying to hit each other the whole time, but it will take sometimes 3 minutes of continual swordplay before we land a touch. That took a long time. How do you make that feel right for video games? I think has a lot to do with having perception be the main skill and then control be relatively simple. So if you can see what distance you're at and then you can make the right actions for your distance, then that is going to, I think, give you the closest feeling to real sword fighting. Getting all of the actions right is the things that we have to do as real sword fighters. That's the shit that takes time, where you want to just have your tactical selection and perception right for a video game, and I think that's the right space.
Alright,
Thank you.
Thank you.
welcome.
That's a really cool question.
Yeah, as long as you're good.
How are you guys able to tell when you're playing a video game that you're like, aha, yeah, they've used motion capture or like performance combat artists to sort of record something like, or they've animated over that versus just an animator going, yeah, I think that's how a sword would stab or something like that.
I think personally, when I see it's been using mocap, it just looks super goofy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's...
Unfortunately, it looks cooler if it looks stylized.
Yeah, that's why Elden Ring is cool. Stuff like that, because it's not mocap.
Also, like, a lot of really good animators do study anatomy, so it can be quite hard to tell, like, is this something that someone has gotten the footage for, like, got mocap for, or is it just someone who's very familiar with how humans move? And, like, you know, we can pick when they've actually got, or they've looked at actual sword technique. Like you saw that with the sort of half sword, where, you know, and Kingdom Come, where it's like they're not obviously actually gone to real practitioners, but you can't tell, like, if they've got mocap, you can't tell, because a lot of the time the mocap artists aren't sword practitioners, so they're just doing what they think a sword, doing what they think a sword would move like.
Or their old mate that just says that they know how a sword works.
Yeah, so it's, it can be quite hard to tell. I mean, the only time I really notice is when you get things like half sword, where it's, you know, the wrists bent away, wrists just don't bend, and it's really obvious that it's like ragdoll physics.
A lot of games use a hybrid approach as well anyway, where either some animations are animated and some are motion captured, or they take the motion capture and then tweak it with traditional animation. Like, it's often not as clear cut as one or the other.
Yeah, true. Cool. Right, go there.
Hey, I play a lot of games and I do a little bit of HEMA. And one of the things that really struck me when I got into HEMA is that when I'm playing a game, I've got this very cognitive, I'm looking at what I'm doing, I'm thinking, I'm planning ahead. But the moment that I picked up an actual sword, I almost stopped thinking. Like I started thinking with my arm. Like I can sort of feel this position developing. So I'm not really thinking about what I'm doing. I'm more sort of, I can work with that. Do you experience that way up in the big leagues? And does that feeling roll over into like gameplay at all?
Can I answer this question, please?
May I
You can, but
May I start with one little thing?
Yeah, go for it.
Like whenever I captain teams, that's like the main piece of advice I give to people. You see people freak out or start to overthink, and you kind of have to tell them to stop, because everything that they've learned, it's in here, and the moment you stop thinking, that's when you do your best work. And that's when it's a bit different from games, because you are thinking about your moves, you think about what button to press, but fighting is such a primitive thing for us to do that you have to stop thinking, but you have to rely on, your training is there. The training is there, and when you turn off your brain to, oh, what am I going to do? It actually speeds up that process, because there's that trust with your body and your training. That's my take on it.
Think like Goku Ultra Instinct.
Yes.
That's how we fight.
Yeah.
I want to answer this question from a gaming perspective, because I've done a lot of competitive raiding, and that's how it feels when I'm playing like very competitive raiding. It's like you're not thinking about what you're doing. You know your rotations. You know all your positioning. It's a feeling now, and you can just like perceive and do. You're not like, I must do this. You just know it.
Yeah,
and that's the feeling in fencing.
They call it the flow state in gaming. When you
just in sport.
in sport too. Yeah, but that is the psychological term, and it's great. Game designers crave the ability to elicit that in a player.
Thanks. Cool. All right, I'll go over here.
Okay. Well, it's over a quarter of a century, close to a quarter of a century ago, that The Lord of the Rings was released. And I was wondering, since then, whether you've seen actually any progression of sword fighting as a whole within, say, entertainment from there. And the second question, armour is fiendishly tricky, and it's in its articulation. And is it actually a good thing to have to supplement your sword fighting? Could it be part of your offensive?
Could armor be part of your like offensive package?
I'm now feeling old because Fellowship of the Ring was highly formative to me as a teenager. I think I can't speak. Well, like media has tended towards fantasy basically since Lord of the Rings, just because the trilogy was so successful. In the same way that like we went from a film is successful, it should have a sequel, to a film is successful, it should be a trilogy.
Should be series.
But
Netflix.
A lot of sword hobbies have really taken off basically because of Lord of the Rings. Like the 90s, like there was HEMA, but it was like this small obscure hobby, and then there was early 2000s, there was kind of this massive explosion because of Lord of the Rings. Like just that's when a lot of that really took off.
So you're saying the real progression is in our sports more than it is in media?
Yeah.
I mean, there's also just more fantasy and historical media than there ever has been, so more of it gets it right, and more of it gets it wrong too. So
there's also a bit of a feedback where a lot of particularly films from about the 60s onwards, just the sword fighting has been done by choreographers who, if they do train martial art or a combat sport, they do something unarmed. And you're starting to see things improve now in terms of like accuracy, just because now like sword combat sports are so much more common. I think the people who were doing things like Star Wars prequels and that didn't, if they did anything, they would have done like kendo. And actually in the original trilogy you can see the kendo in the lightsaber fighting. But now you actually have people who practice like HEMA or do Budo, things like that, who are becoming fight choreographers. So it's not that Lord of the Rings has improved media, it's Lord of the Rings has improved sword hobby, and then sword hobby has improved media. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Can we throw the mic as well?
Oh yeah, and as for that's a me question.
Absolutely.
I mean, armor's great. It's very protective. It's
Works.
great stuff. It works. Armor works. I mean, unless you've got a gun.
Then it sometimes doesn't
Sometimes
work.
it works. I mean, you go to museums and you see these beautiful, ornate pieces of armor with giant cannon holes through them. Like, oh, I don't think that guy made it.
There is also a breastplate in the Wallace collection with a bullet
That's the
dent
one.
in it, and it's not a hole, it's a dent.
Yeah, I think I know exactly the one you're talking about. Yeah, Wallace collection, great place. Well, armor, you just need to know what you're using it for. Like, are you protecting yourself from zombies? Like, it really depends on the purpose. Because, like, with everything, there are pros and cons to having that thing on you. So armor, while it's good, I mean, you don't need it if you're an archer on top of a castle. But if you're down fighting other people with armor, you probably should have it. Armor's very, very heavy though, and it has to be perfectly fitted to your body for you to be able to move around in it. I mean, a good set of armor, you have full mobility with that. You can do somersaults. Somersaults, rolls. You can roll around.
Gymnastics.
You can get up on a horse. Maybe do gymnastics. You won't be able to jump very far off the ground though. You can't swim in armor. Don't ever try to swim in armor.
Oh no.
Don't try and swim.
It's a bad lesson.
Yeah, I suppose it is worth having in your arsenal, but I guess it depends what you're using it for and what you're defending against. Simple as that.
Alright, so I'll go here.
Hello. Seems to be a pretty endless debate between HEMA practitioners, video game players, and anime fans. Dual wielding, yay or nay?
Yeah.
Yes. Dual wielding is based.
Like a
There's
shield
real
and a
question is,
sword.
what is in your other hand? That's the question.
I think it just
Two
takes.
swords, like.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but it would take a lot of skill to be
Two
able
swords
to.
is a little bit cringe.
It just gets in the way of it. Like having two different things that can have different roles and achieve different things. But like holding two of the same. That's like.
You see it in like martial arts, like Eskrima and Kali, they've got two sticks, or whether that translates to.
But they're short sticks.
They're short.
When you've got a sword that's sword length, it gets in the way of the other sword that is also sword length. But if you have a dagger...
So no dual wielding katanas is what you're saying?
No, those are short.
Yeah,
katanas are short, so that's fine. You can dual wield katanas and kill people, that's fine.
And get tennis elbow.
Well, to that I have to say, like, isn't it good to be able to block sometimes? Don't you like shields?
Molly, that's what you're using your head for.
Yeah, you've got two hands, and if you can get them both in the fight, that's good. Like even if you have an empty hand, like one of the things people do with like rapier fighting is hand parries, where they literally swap the blade out of the way, and you mostly don't get cut. Mostly.
Will we fire through these questions?
We should.
Yes.
Sure. The one thing I will say though is dual wielding is historical. Like people have done it as long as we have records. So
It was a little bit cringe then too.
Yeah. What's over there?
You touched on it briefly with one of the things, but the vision blocking of helmet and armor. How often when you're fighting do you end up using the fact that your opponent can't see, and how often have you tried to do a thing through training for something you can't see coming?
Well, that's all about field awareness. So we do something in our training called scanning, where we get out a certain amount of hits, and then we hit, look, hit, look, because you only have a very narrow field of vision. So if I've got someone standing literally here, I can't see them. So I've had situations before where I've been standing here looking at somebody, haven't looked where I'm going, and somebody's like, whack, and pushed me straight to the ground. And I've done a little legs up in the air. So, I mean, it goes both ways though. Like, if someone's not wearing a helmet, you shouldn't be fighting them if you've got a helmet on. It's against the rules. But if two people have helmets on. We have roughly the same amount of awareness and vision. So, like what I can do against somebody, someone else can do against me. It is something that we train and practice. It's just about making sure you're looking where you can and making sure you've counted how many opponents are on the field and making sure you can see them at all times. And if you can't, you should probably find them real quick.
I want to add a story to that. I'm friends with Molly's partner, who is
He's
amazing.
right there.
That's fucking mega gorilla.
He's got a question.
And he'll send me videos of like at comps and at training and stuff, and I got burned in my brain. This video is like, yeah, look at this footage of Molly, and it was like a 5v5, and Molly's just broken off as like two people are just smacking one of the friends, but Molly's come back around, taking the longest route, just gets up behind this poor girl and just straight into the gravel, and it's like, oh, that's how that game's supposed to work.
Yes. But I learned from him. He's a world gold medalist, by the way. So. Anyway, 4 minutes we should.
Yeah, we should speak.
Let's do.
Cool. So, question there.
Okay, my question comes from the video game Stronghold. How crazy would you think would it be fighting in your own style against someone who's a mace wielder versus fighting against 6 mace wielders?
Maces terrify me.
They work really well.
They're designed, they're not allowed in my sport.
Well, how do you know? Unfortunately, we don't have. I don't think we have any real modern sports for fighting with maces because they work. They sort of do their job or they don't.
Yeah, you can really unblunt a mace.
Yeah.
Anything with a mace though, like that's pretty bad.
Was part of your question to do with group fighting though?
A little bit, but I suppose the other part would be high risk, high reward, would you say? Being a mace wielder?
What's the reward? Wait, what? Huh? Oh, well, they're fighting someone with mace, sure.
They'd certainly be able to output a lot more damage than your regular Joe.
Yeah, it invalidates armor in a really gut-wrenching way.
Yeah, it makes my wallet cry.
Alright, next question.
Cool. Yep.
Hello. There's a lesser-known game some of you may have heard of called Dungeons and Dragons.
Interesting. Tell me more.
I wonder.
And in combat, your turn equates to 6 seconds of real time. How many times do you reckon you could actually smack someone in 6 seconds?
Oh, we have actual stats.
A lot.
In 30 seconds, Mosh can hit a post 94 times.
Also, I should say the idea in D&D is that within any 6 second time frame, you can get one like valid hit in. You're still exchanging, doing things, and then it's just a way of compartmentalizing.
So you're saying that on the Dungeon Master for making those 6 seconds fun?
Yes.
Yeah.
Describe your combat Dungeon Masters. It makes it interesting.
6 seconds is so long. Like,
yes, it is a bit.
A lot can happen in 6
That's why you
seconds.
get multiple attacks when you level.
So, the reason it's 6 seconds and the reason D&D combat is so janky from a realism perspective is actually because it's a modified war game, and this is probably a whole other panel, but all the rules make sense if you think of it as trying to do unit combat, and they don't make sense for individual combat. Anyway, cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Let's go here.
Hi everyone.
Hello.
So quick question for the panel. Can we grab a few examples of when you're struck by a sword, parry, and then transferring the energy with little effort to achieve a desirable outcome?
Mosh, stand up.
I'll work that a little bit better.
I think they understood.
Very simple.
They're going to demo.
We'll let the champs
Do it on the stage because then they can all see.
Do you want me to move my stick?
So if Mosh chucks a big cut at my head, and I do a parry that lets my sword slide out of the way, then he does the cut again so that we can do it in one nice go. You can see the moment where I'm actually spinning much faster. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, absolutely. So the power of the sword almost slingshots your sword.
Absolutely. So he's ripping down the weak half of my sword, and it's giving it like an elastic effect, and then it's going to rip through.
Gnarly.
Yeah.
Thank you.
we're gonna. I'm gonna put this up just if hopefully that demo convinces you to get into sword fighting. But we do have time for Dan's question, and then I'm gonna look for the enforcers as to when they're gonna kick us out. 5 minutes.
Okay,
six,
six.
yes.
All right, we won't get anyone else up for questions though. So everyone who's currently standing will answer your question.
Yeah, cool. That should get through everyone. But Dan, go.
Hey panel, so
Hey.
I'm actually the coach of the Western Wolves, but I'm medieval combat there.
I think we know you.
Just have one thing to say with the maces. We do actually have them, just not in Victoria for
Yes.
legal reasons.
The nanny state.
But usually you'll see axes more because axes concentrate the force much better, so they'll do more damage to people. And we're wanting to do damage so they take a knee or fall over. Or they're good as a backup weapon, so then you can punch people and throw them to the ground easier. So, with throwing to the ground, a question I have for the panel with gaming is, I never really see grappling or any kind of actions without using the sword involved in video games. They're usually hyper-fixated on the weapon. Do you think there's any way that games could handle using your body outside of just whatever weapon or equipment that you've got equipped?
So one of the reasons you don't see that very often is linking animations between two human-shaped characters is tricky. And if you try to do it physics-based, you have a whole bunch of points of contact, which is tricky. But yeah, that'd be cool to see, but hard. And
I think you could go. So, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is a little bit like a video game.
Yes. Explain.
You sort of will learn each thing very, very step by step. So I think that if you were willing to make a grappling game that was very slow paced, then maybe you could make something that felt right to and true to grappling. Maybe.
Obviously, these things like fighting games often use grapples to get around certain mechanics, like
Yeah, but it's like press one button then grapple. So.
I was gonna say because the UFC games have grappling. I haven't played them, but I've definitely seen trailers and stuff that have grappling in it. So there must be, or I don't know, maybe it's just really bad. But
Yeah, they've tried.
Why you only have spine, you don't really spine work.
A lot of emphasis on the transitions.
Oh,
So
yeah.
whether you're going north-south or whether you're going side-mount or whether you're going full-mount, there are interactions between all those moments where you will have to do certain button presses or combinations to land the transition and then to capitalize.
Okay.
That's very
That's
cool.
interesting. I've never played them, forgive me, but that sounds.
You can do that with the sword. I mean, the mechanics are there.
Oh, yeah, it's all
I just
theoretical
think-
possible. I just can't think of any
No one's
examples.
great.
Go to the next question, I think.
yes,
Yeah.
next question.
Alright.
Hey, I have a question about fantasy weapons. Often exotic weapons in fantasy games have this whole staff shape going on with two heads on the weapon. How much viability do you see in that, or should you just really go with a sword and shield at that point because that's just ridiculous?
So the person behind me isn't going to be happy if my spear has two heads.
Yeah, but that's because you're not thinking about fighting monsters.
Oh.
So when you're fighting monsters, maybe the cool fantasy weapons are specialized for that.
Maybe.
I hate to. There are actually examples of particularly lances and later period 19th century lances that will have a butt spike, generally as a counterweight. But you do see Victorian era lance drills where they will turn aside with the lance, turn the lance round, and stab with the butt strike. You do see it. It's not common because generally having something on a striking surface on the bottom of your weapon is not that useful unless it's very different. So you do see it with pole arms, but generally it's kind of like the dual wielding thing where it's better to have two different things than have two of the same thing, which is why we don't see double-ended weapons very often in history. So yeah.
My favorite sword fighting game is Chivalry 2. Have you seen that played that at all?
I downloaded it and it's sitting there unplayed still.
Yeah, I'm just wondering in terms of tempo, timing, distance, and all that, how realistic do you think that is?
I'm pretty sure that's the one that Melody used to play really hard. It's got a lot of group fighting, right?
What fighting?
It has group fighting in it?
Oh yeah, it's basically a brawl.
Yeah. we have a dear friend in the States, in Texas, who used to play it semi-professionally because she went real batshit at it. And she talks about all the drills for positioning and understanding of like kiting and breaking the whole team's position with your actions so much. And it's just like, oh, why don't you do that in your fencing? And she's like, oh, you're a genius. I'm like, what the well, that's why you were telling me about this.
Actually, yeah, I know all about that.